Hey guys, Hal here, coming at you with another movie review. Thank you for clicking on this video and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be tackling a big one, 2025's Wolfman. After years of anticipation, this kind of reboot of the Universal classic monster movie Wolfman has finally arrived. It's directed by the very talented Leigh Whannell, who's most famously known for his work on The Invisible Man. So does it live up to that hype? That's what we're going to find out. So let's get to it. Wolfman introduces us to Blake Lavelle, played by Christopher Abbott, a man grappling with a rift in his marriage and the loss of his father under mysterious circumstances. He returns to his family home in rural Oregon, where a dark legacy and an ancient curse lie dormant. As Blake and his family travel to Oregon, they get themselves into an accident and they find themselves caught in a terrifying cycle of transformation. What was once a simple mystery becomes a fight for survival as Blake turns into the very creature his father was trying to find. Leigh Whannell is no stranger to revitalizing classic horror with a fresh spin, and he does just that with Wolfman. Instead of taking the traditional monster movie route, Whannell infuses psychological horror, layering themes of guilt, inheritance and identity into the heart of the story. I thought Christopher Abbott was great as Blake. He walks the fine line between man and monster, capturing Blake's internal struggle with palpable intensity. As a character, Blake isn't just dealing with becoming a werewolf, he's wrestling with the weight of a generational curse. There's a rawness in Abbott's performance that makes us empathise with Blake, even as he succumbs to his darker nature. I actually really took to Blake as soon as we were introduced to his character. We see him growing up with his dad, who we are given the impression is very strict. He clearly disciplines his son, makes him, get up early, make his bed. They go out on a hunting trip, and he just wants to make sure that his son's okay and safe, and wants him to listen to what he does. I think it's quite heavy-handed that throughout the film we're given the impression that Blake perhaps is going to inherit some of these strict behaviours that his dad gave off. And I think they're kind of putting that in a light that that's a bad thing. When actually, I actually didn't see anything wrong in what his dad was doing, really. He was just looking out for his son. So that's a theme throughout that I actually thought was a little bit mishandled, because it shows him kind of telling off his daughter for doing something that she shouldn't be doing. But I think the idea is that we're not supposed to think he should behave like that, when really I think he's just being a dad looking after his daughter. So as I say, I think that's a bit heavy-handed, that theme. But I love everything else with regards to him and his wife having their troubles. It can feel like there's not much depth to his wife's character. But actually, I think it's good that you don't see, it feels like they're disconnected, they're quite distant, which I think if it's a matter of a marriage is breaking down, then that's kind of what you're going to feel from it. And that is what I did. I thought there was loads of heart, actually. So yes, her character might have been underwritten slightly, but I think that's because we didn't actually need much of her backstory. We just needed to see that they were not communicating perfectly, and there was a bit of a breakdown. And we actually see that progress through the film, and there's a payoff. So I enjoyed that bit. Leigh Whannell's directing approach is cerebral. This is not just a mindless monster flick. This film is a slow burn, building tension through suspense and a creeping sense of dread. Whannell brilliantly uses the eerie setting to enhance that sense of isolation. The rural Oregon backdrop with its foggy forests and darkened interiors really creates the perfect atmosphere to make you feel like you are losing yourself to something monstrous. So we must talk about the transformation, which is always one of the most iconic elements of any werewolf story. Whannell takes a more grounded approach, choosing practical effects that harken back to the golden age of monster movies, with subtle yet intense transformations. The makeup and special effects are impressive, with Blake's slow shift into a ferocious werewolf being both grotesque and truly tragic. That's a major strength to this film, is the werewolf isn't just a creature to fear, it's an absolutely tragic figure. You can see the toll it takes on Blake's character, emotionally and physically, and this really does raise the stakes. It's really weird because the monster isn't just lurking in the shadows, waiting to attack. It's a part of Blake, and you can see it slowly pushing him towards self-destruction. It's very heartbreaking to see. And there's these moments where Winnell uses like a point of view camera angle from not only his wife's side, but from Blake's side, and they're lost in translation because Blake now can't understand what his wife's saying and she can't understand what he's saying. So she asks him to write something down. She gives him this pen and paper, and it's truly tragic that he just writes dying on this piece of paper because she asks him, what is he feeling? What do you want to tell me? And to see him, his hair falling out, and to just see this really slow, painful change is truly heartbreaking. But in all honesty, really a standout for me, and this is what I enjoyed the most about this film, was this slow, painful change. It was very much like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. I really saw similarities in that. Which is a film that I absolutely adore. So it was nice to see this. I was glad that it was a slow burn. If this is something that you thought you were going into and it was going to be a real fast-paced, high-energy werewolf film, then you probably were disappointed because that's not this. So it's Julia Garner who plays Charlotte, which is Blake's wife. She provides a grounded, emotional anchor for the film. Her performance is delicate but strong, though her character could have used a bit more development. While Charlotte plays a pivotal role in Blake's journey, there are moments where her character feels slightly underwritten compared to the others. As I mentioned before, I feel that this was actually written on purpose to make their characters feel a little bit distant, and you didn't get to know her as much, so I didn't mind it at all. At its core, Wolfman is a story about identity and family, and Blake's curse isn't just about becoming a werewolf. It's about grappling through the darkness that runs through his family's bloodline. The film explores whether he can break free from his father's legacy or if he's destined to make the same mistakes that he did. I mean, these are themes that many can relate to, although I just feel that it is very heavy-handed at times. In terms of pacing, the film does take its time, especially in the first half. Some viewers might find the slower build a bit frustrating, especially given the action-heavy nature of werewolf films. However, once the action ramps up, the tension is palpable. The final act is a thrilling and gut-wrenching conclusion to Blake's journey. There's this awesome scene where they're all trying to escape the house because they found the keys to a car on the drive. They all run out and get into the car to, obviously do the classic try and start the engine. And when the window wipers start to move, then it clears the way and all you see is this werewolf on the flipping bonnet just growling. It looks wicked. I really quite enjoyed it. And there was some parts I actually thought that they looked very much like orcs actually from Lord of the Rings, but just with beards and, a back-combed hair. But otherwise, I thought it looked fantastic. And there was actually a little bit more action in this than I thought I was going to get. I heard that it was going to be a bit of a slow burn. So when I saw these scenes and they were quite action-heavy in places, I was thrilled. I absolutely loved it. So my overall thoughts on Wolfman is that it's a compelling take on werewolf films. It mixes psychological depth with monster horror. While it's not perfect, with some underdeveloped characters and some pacing issues that stop it from, being a perfect film. Winnell's direction and Abbott's performance are highlights, as the film offers exploration into identity and family, which makes this not just your everyday creature feature. So this may not have been the film that people were expecting, but I have to be honest, I really enjoyed it. This was better than I imagined. So if you're into slow pace and atmospheric horror, then this one is for you. I really did enjoy seeing how the family dealt with what was happening to Blake, and the way in which they interacted with one another. I felt the heart, I felt the loss, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So I really hope you enjoyed my review of Wolfman today. If you did, then please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious